Hello everyone, this is Sam from Language Atlas, and in this video, I'd like to show you the Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. In this video, we will go over three things. First, I'd like to show the course structure of the Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. Second, I'd like to show the course content, and I'll do so by having a look at three Anki decks within the overall Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. And third, I'd like to show you some brief editing options. So let's get started with the first point, which is to show the course structure. You may have already noticed that I have in fact two versions of the Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. I have a European Portuguese version and the Brazilian Portuguese version. Now, the European Portuguese version refers to the Portuguese that is being spoken in Portugal, and the Brazilian one refers to the Portuguese that is being spoken in Brazil. Now, having said that, I've already double-clicked on both decks, and you can see them right over here. Now, I'd like to begin with showing you the course structure of the European Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. However, after that, I will show you the Brazilian one. Now, what I would like to note is that in terms of course structure, both of them are exactly the same. However, when it comes to the course content, so the words, the sentences, the audio, the pronunciation, the IP annotation, that is what is different. So structure-wise, they're the same, but content, what's inside, that's how they differ. So I'd like to begin with the European Portuguese B2 vocabulary one. So you can see that there are 8 chapters: pronouns, conjunctions, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and determiners. Now, if I go over here and click on this little plus icon in front of chapter for nouns, you can see that there are some subdecks inside it, 19 to be precise. Now, what I've done is that I've categorized all the different nouns in chapter for nouns by theme. So they range from academia, intellect, and animals all the way until time, maths, and numbers and transportation. So whenever you wish to study a certain theme, so whenever you wish to study body and health, for example, or feelings, emotions, and traits, or society and economy, you are able to do so. Now I'd like to show you the Brazilian Portuguese B2. I'm going to click on this plus icon over here in front of the Brazilian Portuguese B2 one, and you can see that we have the same 8 chapters: pronouns, conjunctions, verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and determiners. I can go over here to chapter for nouns, and we can see that we have the same exact subdecks, ranging from academia, intellect, and animals, all the way into time, maths, and numbers, and transportation. So that was my first point, to show you the course structure. Now I'd like to go to the second point, which is to show the course content. And I mentioned before that I'd like to look at 3 Anki decks within the overall Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. I will look at chapter for nouns, and to be a bit more precise, home. I will look at chapter 5 adjectives and chapter 3 verbs. Now, within Brazilian Portuguese, I will show you nouns and adjectives, and then I'll go over to the European Portuguese one and I'll show you verbs. So one thing I'd like to note is that even if you're interested in the other version of Portuguese, I would like to urge you to keep watching. That's because, of course, in terms of structure, in terms of course content, they're different. So the words, the sentences, the audio, and IP annotations and such. In terms of structure, how things are set up, they're exactly the same. So you will learn a lot even if you're interested in the other version of Portuguese. So I'll go to chapter 4, nouns, and I'll go to home, and then I will click on study now. So this is the first card type. We see a sentence in Portuguese, and we have 2 blank areas. Underneath the Portuguese sentence, we have the English translation of the Portuguese sentence, and then we have a certain part bolded and underlined. So in this case, it's a hook. You have to know what a hook is in Portuguese. So you see the sentence, I injured myself with a hook, and how to say a hook in Portuguese. Underneath that, we have a visual representation of the Portuguese sentence. So you see a picture of a hook. Now, why is this here? Many studies have shown that if you have a visual representation, so for example, picture, it really helps you to understand a Portuguese sentence or a sentence in a foreign language. It helps you to better memorize that as well. So this will really help you when it comes to learning the Portuguese language. So, having said that, let's have a look at how you say a hook in Portuguese.
Eu me machuquei com gancho. O gancho, gancho. Os ganchos, uns ganchos.
Great. So we can see that we have 3 areas. We have the first area, which is the sentence area. We have the second area, which is the singular area. And we have the third area, which is the plural area. I'd like to begin with explaining and showing you this one. So over here, we have the correct sentence in Portuguese. And this is what we're looking for. So the article plus noun. Now, you may have noticed that this is in fact blue. Why is this the case? Well, Portuguese is a gendered language. We have masculine gender and feminine gender. And nouns that are in the masculine gender are shown in blue. And words that are feminine gender are shown in pink. So having this color code system over here, having this in blue, really helps you identify the gender of nouns and allows you to better memorize them as well. Great. So underneath the Portuguese sentence, we have the IPA notation of the Portuguese sentence. And the IPA notation is here so you can better pronounce the Portuguese sentences and words and everything. Underneath that, we have the English translation of Portuguese sentence. And finally, we have the audio.
Eu me machuquei com gancho.
So the second area is the singular area. We have the singular noun both in definite, indefinite form. We have the IPA notation, and we have the English translation, again, in definite and indefinite form. And over here we have the audio.
O gancho, gancho.
The third area is the plural area, where again you have the plural versions of the noun. We have the IPA notation, and we have the English translation.
Os ganchos, uns ganchos.
And of course with the audio. So let's do another one. Can you lend me a notebook? A notebook.
Pode me emprestar caderno? O caderno, caderno. Os cadernos, uns cadernos.
So we see the same setup. We have a sentence area, we have a singular area, and we have a plural area with the sentence, IP notation, and translation and audio, and the same setup over here and over here. We bought a ladder to fix our roof. How do you say a ladder?
Nós compramos uma escada para arrumar o nosso telhado. A escada, uma escada. As escadas, umas escadas.
So what we see over here is the same setup, sentence, singular, plural, but now we see a noun in pink. Why is this the case? Well, I mentioned before, Portuguese is a gendered language, and this is a noun in the feminine gender. So whenever you see something in blue, it's masculine. Whenever you see something in pink, as you see right over here, it is feminine. Do you have a candle to use in case of an emergency? A candle.
Vocês têm uma vela para usar em caso de emergência? A vela, uma vela. As velas, umas velas.
Great. Let's do one more. What was your household like when you were a child? Household.
Como era o seu ambiente familiar quando era criança? O ambiente familiar, ambiente familiar. Os ambientes familiares, uns ambientes familiares.
Great. Now that was the first card type, where you saw a blank area and you had to know what went inside the blank area. Now I'd like to show you the second card type, which is this one. Now we've seen this sentence before. I injured myself with the hook. And before we had to know what went inside the blank area. Now we have to actually type it. So the second card type is a typing exercise. Can you actually spell the word correctly? So I just typed in the word.
Eu me machuquei com gancho. O gancho, gancho. Os ganchos, uns ganchos.
And we can see over here the correct answer in blue. Now, we have the blue part, we have correct answer in blue because it's the masculine gender, and over here is what we typed. And what we typed is in green. Why is this in green? Because I answered the question correctly. So if you have the correct answer shows up in green. Now, let's do another one. Let's say we do something like this.
Pode me emprestar caderno? O caderno, caderno. Os cadernos, uns cadernos.
So before, when we had the answer completely correct, it was green. Now we see green, but we see a little bit of red as well. So I used the letter K when I should have used the letter C, and I used the letter A when I should have used the letter O. So what I did incorrectly is being shown here in red. The K over here is red and the A over here is red. But what I should have had is over here is C and O, which are shown in gray. So this is how Anki helps you. This is how Anki tests you as well. And this will really improve typing and spelling the correct words. Now, I could continue like this, but I think you get the picture. More typing, and if it's correct, it shows up in green, incorrect in red, and then, yeah, that's the picture. So, chapter 4 nouns, we did. Now I'd like to go to chapter 5 adjectives. I'll click on study now. And we see the same setup. Portuguese sentence with a blank area. We see the English translation with the certain part bold and underlined. Fundamental. It is fundamental to hear both sides before making any conclusions. And we see a picture. And the picture is a visual representation of the Portuguese sentence. So let's have a look. What is fundamental in Portuguese?
É fundamental ouvir ambos os lados antes de tirar quaisquer conclusões. Fundamental. Fundamentais.
And we see the same setup, sentence area, singular area, plural area. She's looking for an opportunity in the editorial industry.
Ela está procurando uma oportunidade no setor editorial. Editorial. Editoriais.
Great. You are not being logical at all. Logical.
Você não está sendo nada lógico. Lógico, lógica. Lógicos, lógicas.
And now we see something interesting happening. So this you see the sentence area, we have the singular and plural area, but now you see two different versions over here and over here. Why is this the case? Well, I mentioned before Portuguese is a gendered language, so a lot of adjectives have a masculine version and a feminine version as well. So this is the singular area, and this is the singular masculine, and this is the singular feminine. I said this before, this is the plural area, and this is the plural masculine, and this is the plural feminine. So you can see all different versions, and what's great about this Anki deck is that it helps you memorize them because you see them, you can practice them, you can train them. This will really help you improve your understanding of the language. And of course, we see the IP notation, we see the translation and the audio as well.
Lógico, lógica.
And the same over here as well.
Lógicos, lógicas.
Her company is very innovative.
A empresa dela é muito inovadora. Inovador, inovadora. Inovadores, inovadoras.
And we see the same thing that we saw before. Masculine singular, feminine singular, and over here masculine plural, feminine plural. The actual cost of the repair was much higher than estimate. Actual.
O custo real do reparo foi muito mais elevado do que o estimado. Atual, real. Atuais, reais.
Great. Now I'd like to continue, and then we would end up with the typing exercise as well that we have already seen. And again, if we type the word correctly, it shows up in green. If not, some part red or perhaps completely in red. So those were the two decks from the Brazilian Portuguese B2 Anki deck. Now I'd like to show you one from the European Portuguese one. I will click on this icon over here, and then I will go to chapter 3 verbs. I'll click on study now, and this is what we see. We see the same thing. Sentence with blank area, English translation. He was able to dominate his competition and picture. So how do you say to dominate?
Ele foi capaz de dominar a sua concorrência. Dominar.
Now you may have already noticed something very interesting. Because we are doing the European Portuguese version, the audio is different, the pronunciation is different, and because of that, the IPA notation is different as well, as we can see over here and over here. Now, again, I'd like to remind you that there is a difference between the European version and the Brazilian version, and it's up to you to choose which one is more appropriate for you. But of course, the audio will be different, the pronunciation, IPA notation, certain words, certain sentences. So your choice does matter. So this we have seen before, sentence, IPA notation, English translation, and audio.
Ele foi capaz de dominar a sua concorrência.
And this is something that I find very interesting to share with you as well, an interesting note. All the verbs in chapter 3 verbs are shown in the infinitive form or the full verb form. So you see over here to dominate, and again the full verb form here as well in Portuguese. Why is this relevant? Well, once you know the full verb form of a verb, it's easier to conjugate it to different tenses according to different subject pronouns. So once you know the infinitive, once you know the full verb form, it's very easy to do things with that verb. So everything will be in full verb form, and then once you know it, it's easy to conjugate that. Did you remember to document your findings? To document.
Tu te lembraste de documentar as tuas descobertas? Documentar.
And you can see again, infinitive. The boat is about to depart. To depart.
O barco está prestes a partir. Partir.
And to depart, of course, here in full verb. They have the ability to grant asylum to refugees. To grant.
Eles têm a capacidade de conceder asilo aos refugiados. Conceder.
She's struggling to rank her favorite foods. To rank.
Ela está a ter dificuldades para classificar suas comidas favoritas. Classificar.
She needs to obey her boss, to obey.
Ela precisa de obedecer o seu chefe. Obedecer.
Colombia's name is said to derive from Christopher Columbus.
O nome da Colômbia diz-se derivar de Cristóvão Colombo. Derivar.
And we can do one more. The government is trying to lower inflation, to lower.
O governo está a tentar baixar a inflação. Baixar.
Okay. And I could continue like this, and then we would end up with the typing exercise as we have seen already. And you can see it right now again. And again, I can type it, and if it's correct, it shows up green. If not, red. Okay. So those were the three decks that I wanted to show you. And that was my second point, to show the course content. Now I'd like to go to the third point, which is to show you some brief editing options. Now, many people have asked me the question, how do you regulate how many cards you see per day? Well, very simple. You go over here, click on this icon, you click on options, and you can see daily limits. And over here, you can see new cards per day, and you can see maximum reviews per day. So we can change the new cards per day from 20 to 50, for example. And we can change the maximum reviews per day as well from 20 to 52. And new cards per day sets how many cards you see, and the reviews allows you to set how many reviews you see every day. And a review is simply a card that you've already done before that you will see again. So a review. And you can see the numbers have increased. And I can decrease them as well if I wish to do so, from 50 to 20, from 50 to 20. And the numbers have decreased again. So that was my third point. I briefly would like to add that it is better to begin with a low amount in the beginning. So I think 20 is very fair, because language learning is all about creating a habit and sticking to it. And it's easy to do so if you have a low number in the beginning. But of course, once you've established that habit and you do it on a regular basis, you can increase that number if you wish to do so. So that was it for this video. I'd like to thank you very much for watching my explanation overview of the Portuguese B2 vocabulary Anki deck. You can get the deck at languageatlas.com. I will share all the information, all the links in the comment section and description. Thank you again for watching the video, and I wish you the best of luck when it comes to learning the Portuguese language. Goodbye.